so much for being here for the second day of our opening reception weekend for the 50th Annual Winter Festival Art Show and Sale. My name is Jessie Campbell. I'm the Interim Artistic Director, and I'm still feeling so overwhelmed from the whole atmosphere last night at the opening. If you were able to be here, it was such an awesome gathering and celebration of art.
It really was.
Thank you. So yeah, we are in store for, I think, some wonderful discussions and talks about this show. Jason Baerg is here. He's going to provide the ideas and insight that went into shaping the show and observations about the work. But you can always learn about your own practice by hearing what others have to say about other people's works. So we're going to go through section by section, and when your work is in a specific section, I think you can glean a lot of information. So please join me in welcoming our guest curator, Jason Baerg.
Thank you. So yeah, I'm Cree Métis from here. Really grateful to be back home. My Cookham was born in Moon Hills, and my mom and her siblings were born up in Big River. I was raised in the West Flat, so it's great to be back home. I'd like to start by acknowledging the land and the first people, the custodians of place. And I think about, also, I had a great conversation with one of the local artists who was talking about the deep histories of the PA Winter Festival, which goes back at least 100 years, I believe. So yeah, expect more details. If you're unfamiliar with those deep histories, that probably will start to percolate through community. And I think it's so important that we recognize that, because this is a momentum. You know what I mean? It's taken this long to get here. So I'd also like to acknowledge the artists of past from the region. All right, so yeah, when we started curation, I want to acknowledge Jessie. She was really a collaborator in the process. And my husband, who's not here, we really looked at the work and we started to organize it in like landscape and figurative and abstraction. And it was pretty quickly we could see major themes that would evolve in the work. And so we organized it in that way. Jessie gave me great latitudes, and I was very happy to kind of like move the fiber arts out into this kind of principal space. As we enter this door, I was really interested in like welcoming our bodies, because fiber art is so physical in making. So yeah, we started really with like the land and the animals, and I wanted to also recognize our first people. So that's how we got to this space. So yeah, and I think that also, yeah, it's like the perfect amount of art for this space. When we were thinking about this, it was against the wall, but we wanted to animate space. Also, when I think about what happens inside, it's like you walk in, we're kind of also acknowledging territory on that very first small little wall. We'll go deeper into conversation as we move in space, but then also we'd be confronted by the land, and then kind of figurative work happened here. And actually, some of the collections of the ceramics really did inform the kind of the physical installations of the curatorial practice in this exhibition. So it was like, after seeing an exhibition we both saw in Vancouver on ceramics, it was how it was presented on these kind of pedestals or podiums. We created an ice flow. And we were thinking about the Winter Festival. And then all of a sudden, it was like the river and the meandering of like, those things were really also kind of like informing our installations. So that's a kind of quick overview. Are there artists in this area that would like to talk about their work or engage in a little bit of a conversation? Yeah. Okay. If you have work in here, like in this area, is there anybody?
I have a piece right there.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Is this your work?
Yeah.
Nice. Amazing. So now I teach drawing and painting at OCAD University. And what I like to do is I like to engage the students. It's really about community. When I think about why we make art, it's about connecting to each other. So I also think that like the title isn't as important as what the work is doing. So now this might be a little bit new for the community, but I'm welcoming you all to kind of communicate a little bit about what you're picking up in the work. So this is called a cold read. So what are people picking up in this work?
I thought it was really, I thought it was really interesting, the circular, the tango format. I thought that was a really interesting choice and not something I see in a lot of landscapes.
And especially because it's a landscape that circle.
Which landscape?
That circle is like medicine wheel, like so many other symbols of the planet itself being circular, and so for me it shows a lot of why I bought the nature.
Yeah. Tondos or circles are really hard to resolve. Squares and circles are much harder to resolve than rectangles, so it is really gutsy. I also like to see the repetition of the circle inside the circle. Yeah, as you were saying, there's something this too, it feels like the wrapping of a drum too. So there's really interesting things that are occurring in its subject matter, which is landscape, as well as how it's presented. I also think about geometries like the circle. Like when I think about formalism and what Western art did to geometries is they were really trying to strip all meaning out of the work and just kind of investigate in pure aesthetics, which I think is impossible. When I think about geometries, geometry means earth measurements. Geo is earth, metric is measurement. So when I think about the circle, I often think about the cosmological or something planetary or the sun. So yeah, I think it's a really good good way to approach this. And there's some beading in there. You use buttons and some beads. Do you want to take 20 seconds just to quickly respond?
I create with what I have, and I inherited a lot of my grandmother's things.
Awesome.
And so the lace is hers and the buttons are hers, and putting, she taught me and kind of got me into crafting and creating, and so little odd odes to her. And yeah,
I love it. Well, thank you. All right.
I think we've got Ellie's piece is just
Great.
down over here.
Okay, great.
Space.
Yeah. As we move forward, I thought like the reason why we put these here is I kind of like wanted that greeting right at the door, that kind of physical embodiment to connection to audience. These works are amazing. Is the artist here? Yeah, so powerful. Okay, we're gonna move over here. Yeah, come on over. Let's talk about the work. Is it this work down here?
yeah.
Yeah. So this won a prize. This won a prize.
Thank you.
And when I think about what somebody was asking me, like, I wonder what you would think about this work. I've been really experimenting. And I always think that if you're experimenting, if you're taking risks, you're growing. So like, I think that that's a part of my personal value set when I'm looking at artwork, where I see an artist challenging themselves in making, this was really refreshing. So what are people picking up when they look at this work? Yeah, feel free. What does the mayor have to say?
Obviously, well, to me, it speaks of nature. I'm looking at the combination of earth, water, sky, and, but that's just a very simple perspective.
I think it's really valid, though.
Thank you.
I think it's really valid. Like, it's great that the river's right here, And I do pick, like when I look at it, I feel like there is a spirit in that water. You know, like I think art should be powerful and it should make us feel things. And one of the things that I tell my students too is like, if it's really pretty and if it's really beautiful, that might be okay. But don't be afraid to challenge us because we don't know what tomorrow's beauty is. You know why? Because it hasn't been made yet, right? We need to grow into these things, yeah. And I think about why I think this is such an interesting work is because it's made with, it looks like it's plastic. Yeah. So when we think about the histories of fiber, you know, like we would have started out beating a plant or, you know, spinning a wool, you know what I mean? Now we're talking about the land with a synthetic substrate, you know what I mean?
And the infiltration of plastic.
Yeah. So, yeah, there could be a conversation about pollution in there because there's brown moments, or that could be the earth. It could be the snow. It could be a mountaintop. You know what I mean? It could be many, many, many things.
As a photographer, when I see that piece, I think that it's really brave too to like take, because photography in itself is an art form, but then to be able to like think about, and we had talked about this for our project we did, how can you like go further than the portrait? And I think it's really cool that they took photo and then continue to build a relationship with it, but to see it deconstructed in this way, and I love how I used like fragmentation, but that non-dualistic perspective, I think that's really powerful, like to be able to essentially shred your own work, but then put it back together.
Yeah.
It's really brave and meaningful, so I think that it was probably quite the process to get to where it was.
Yeah, and I encourage that too. Like with my students, I really encourage them to take as big a risk as possible. And that's with the materials that they're using, as well as the subject matter, the conversation that they're proposing through art production. So, yeah. Do you have work out here?
Yeah, the moon.
Yeah. So Liz, I believe, is a relation, am I right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. She asked me last night, she's like, why is that hung so high?
Oh yeah.
And how do you feel about where it's hung in space?
I'm just glad that you got that it was a moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was asking my husband and he's like, I don't get it. And I was like, okay, that's okay.
Yeah. We love it.
Yeah.
We love it. No, yeah, and that's exactly
the earth reflecting in his eyes, right? And I really like the vintage moon. Always like as a kid, I'd always like, and you see it in the old like Bugs Bunny cartoons and stuff. And then my 2-year-old's obsessed with the moon now, so every time I go, he's like, moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
We love it.
Just being like, just feeling helpless, like about certain things going on right now, and you just feel like useless because you're just watching all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and like, it's like and then you you can connect it from there, and yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we hung it as we did, because it's really in relationship to all of creation and creatures. So
And I didn't wanna,
it's definitely the moon.
Go crazy with like colors and details, but currently right now I'm like, I usually have a baby strapped in front of me.
Yeah.
I just can't like, do the fine detail stuff, but I'm like, that's okay because it's the moon, and it's like,
So beautiful.
I don't want to like overdo it and take away from.
It also
I wanna
represents
keep it
your time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It represents this moment in time for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It's beautiful.
Thanks. And
Yeah.
it's made out of camping mattress.
That's
So we're not going
great.
camping anymore.
There you go. Yeah. It's like we all come to art with our own experiences. I think and we all have our own value sets, and we're all reading it. Like if there's 200 people in space right now, there's going to be 200 different interpretations. So all of our histories, all of our intergenerational histories and relationships also come into play when we're looking or interacting with art made by another individual. So I get something very cardinal myself. You know, I get the 4 directions. I actually get, 9 directions.
Yeah, there's lots of directions in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you look at it,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's going to offend or not, but if you look at it, the middle section,
Yeah.
you have a priest, you have a church,
Uh-huh.
you have a native man, and the land.
Yeah.
So you can go into detail
Yeah.
on that any way you want. Plus, there's some burning churches and some other randomness in there.
Yeah.
But they're all forgotten memories from everywhere around this space. And they were
Yeah.
slated for garbage, and I saved them.
Well, that's really good. And isn't that so interesting? I was also having another conversation with an artist this morning, and we were talking about archives. And I'm like, I don't know why, but I don't ever buy into that idea that something is lost. Like, it's funny how things show up. You know what I mean? And it can also come forward in a dream. But that an artist would find this archive of images and then reframe it to tell a new story. But
Well, they were from the museum, because people
Uh-huh.
donate to the museum.
yeah,
And if they're not labeled and or dated properly, they can't be archived.
uh-huh.
So they're unlabeled, unmatched,
Yeah.
misrepresented images.
And how many images did you have to make a selection from?
I had a massive black garbage bag filled with.
So there you go. Isn't that's like poetry,
What I did was I go by,
visual
well,
poetry.
if you look at it, each section, there's
Uh-huh.
9 in each section. Each section has different outside, outside marketing on them. So one section will be yellow and orange, which is Kodak and Canon or something. So I took different ways that way so that it's all kind of quilted together like a quilt.
And I'll tell you all influenced and inspired the placement of this work. So it was like this was one of the first works that grounded this nook. So it was really like, what does this work need? And it's like we need to be able to see through it.
Yeah.
So then we considered this space as a presentation.
Yeah, right?
Another thing I think about too is does anybody know who Lee Miracle is?
Lee Miracle?
Lee Miracle, yeah, the writer, yeah. Did you meet Lee?
I didn't. I've read
Yeah, wonderful artist from the West Coast, but also Métis as well, from Alberta. She was amazing. She was a poet laureate for the nation at one point, and I had the good opportunity to work with her with youth. And we were talking about, she actually offered that story finds its teller. That story, every story is an entity in its own right. And if we are lucky enough, we get to tell that story. So when I think about like what is relevant, what is powerful, what is meaningful, that's what we welcome. And you did that through the work, so I thank you. Are there other artists out here? I think you have work here. Do you have work in this space?
Yeah, in the
Inside, okay, cool. Any other artists out here in this space? Okay, great, yeah. What a beautiful, challenging collection of work by fiber artists. Yeah. Yeah, for sure, absolutely do it.
So in the last since I started my art career, I've been focusing on the secret life of plants and animals, trying to understand them, what it's like to be them at an individual level. And then as I progressed, I started getting interested in the cultural aspect of communities, and now I'm interested in the psychological side of plants and animals. And over the last 2 years, I've been struggling and been treated for bipolar disorder, and so this piece is really, in my opinion, very reflective of that mood swing. Generally speaking, I'm a perfectionist. Everything has to be clean, very tidy, extremely perfect and well presented, and it started out that way, very, very clean, very tight, very well done. It took a long time, right? But in the end, as I was progressing through my treatment, art took a side for a while. And I was having the pressure of wanting to finish this piece for the Winter Festival, and I just couldn't put myself to doing it. And so to working on it anymore, to try and figure out how to hang it. And on the high moods, I would have like all these grand schemes. It's going to be one center, it's going to be like 5 other pieces around it. There will be an installation, or this one will be like, I'll weave it together with string, it'll just hang like a neuron, and just, you know, really going very creative. But in the end, I just couldn't put myself through it, so I decided, I went for a walk one day. I was like, I'm so done trying to figure out and making it pretty. I got really angry, and I got home, and then within 10 minutes, it was pulled apart like it was, and I just took scissors to it, and I just let all my anger out. And then I just left it there, and I decided, you know what, that's an excellent representation of what bipolar is. Your high moods, you want everything perfect, everything pretty, you've got all the plans, everything is figured out. And then in the end, when you crash, you're in full depression, you know, with suicidal thoughts sometimes. And you just kind of can't put yourself together to get out of bed or do anything. And so that's the pulled apart, and the fact that it's unfinished or unpresentable other than flat is the downside of bipolar. And I thought it was really interesting also how it panned out, because I took a photograph and I processed it in a mapping software because I wanted to, the big plan was, to trying to map out the mental fabric of animals, trying to understand the psychology. And the weaving was the best way that I could think of for showing interconnections and the neural network. And that followed from Colombian art, where they use fabric to show connection with the land. And so that was the best idea I could come up with. And in the end, when I started pulling it apart, it does look like topography. So I feel like between bipolar and mapping the neural network and wondering how all that applies to animals really comes together nicely. I think definitely not planned in the end, but the plans change, but essentially like mapping out the neural network and wondering if animals can be bipolar too, because they have a brain and so do we. So I'm sure there's anomalies in animal brains as well. So it's just kind of asking that question.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you. Amazing. All right. So let's carry forward. Yeah.
Here, Jason, I'll get you. Sorry, I'll get you the headset.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, as we enter,
No, not at all.
notice the 50. That's right. You got it. Yeah, my grandpa Jack drank 50. So yeah, this is like an important, I think, stop on the journey as we enter a new environment. And here we really wanted to pay a tribute to Saskatchewan and her First people. So, I also love the little synchronicities that occur in life. I had the great honor to work with Aaliyah this week at Studio Q. She was actually part of a group that we were working with on mentoring, professional development. And I had no idea this was their work, but it seemed really like another important moment to recognize our First people. And yeah, the buffalo too. I think about this place and the buffalo, and I think about as we were putting the show together, it was brought to my attention that Katie recently had passed, and so we thought it was really important to acknowledge her contribution to community, and as well the work is so powerful and beautiful. So we just thought it would be great to really place that work here. Really important. Is Carolyn here?
Right there. That's me.
Is that you?
Yeah.
That's a buffalo. That's really beautiful.
Can I say something about it?
Yeah, how about we start with a few little, is there any community response to the work first? Does anybody?
Just wow.
Just wow. How about that? Would you like to speak to the work?
Yeah, so basically, I've been making animals that are local because I feel very connected to. I'm not originally from Saskatchewan. I'm from Amsterdam, but and also all the materials are basically local. A lot of them are recycled. The tempered glass comes from fridge shelves from the landfill. The Habitat for Humanity store, the doors. And so most of the material is recycled material. Also, I wanted to make a mosaic with tempered glass as a portrait, which has not been done. And so the face is stained glass and the rest of the body is almost entirely tempered glass. Paint tempered glass and then the clear tempered glass with paint under it to create depth.
Amazing. So we are getting the inside scoop in production, which is so powerful. I would have never have guessed that it was kind of like this mixed media approach to making, you know, that, so yeah, stained glass approaches and then painting for the body. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Well,
Summary?
I painted some of the tempered glass.
Yeah.
I painted before I brought
Yeah.
it, and then made a mosaic.
Then worked
with
it from there.
And then some of it is clear with painting behind it because that creates a thin
Yeah.
layer of depth.
Yeah.
And mosaic is hard to create that.
Yeah. You did a
that's-
great job.
Thank you.
Powerful. Amazing. And is the Cranius yours as well or no?
No.
That's a different artist.
Yeah.
Whose work is this?
Patty Cannon.
Is
Quebec's
Patty?
art, yeah.
Is Patty here?
And it's part of her endangered species series.
Yeah.
I think it might be piece number 5 in the series.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, that was another really beautiful thing to see in space. Who's making what in relationship to who and so forth. Like, really amazing work. And then when we walk into space, I think the first thing I wanted people to be embraced by is the land. And when we talked a little bit about the ceramics that is in the opposite corner to where I'm standing now, like ice flows, and the river was really inspiring configurations. And then when I approached each wall or each configuration, I was approaching it like a painting myself. And so like when I think about some of the key people that influence my approach to color and composition, I think about Guido Molinari. Does anybody know who Guido Molinari is? He was a great Canadian painter from Montreal. He was an abstractionist, and he was one of my teachers as well. So he would talk about how the corners, it's like when we're reading a rectangle or we're reading a composition, you know, our eye will start from one of the corners, and the opposite corner, there's a relationship. There's like for most dynamics in composition, they'll be like, you'll have a relationship between those two corners, and these two corners will have a relationship, and then your eye will travel to somewhere in a third of the composition. So I was really thinking about how color relationships are happening. We wanted to punch up warmer areas with some cooler colors to really like maximize chromatic impact. So yeah, is there anyone in space here this morning that has one of their landscapes on this wall?
Again, this is my experiment. It might be standard paint practice. This is my piece.
Yeah.
And what I was aiming for was to play with chroma and some transparent paints versus some opaque paints, and just to really play with the touch of light on the landscape.
Yep.
And also with the shape of the landscape, and how those two things play together, and then to tie it into perspective and have it so it looks different as you approach it, and it becomes a different painting as you get closer to it. And I played a lot with layers.
Great.
And then the etching was just to show the inner layers.
I love.
So that was
amazing.
what I was intending to do. And
All right, so let's open it up. So yeah, I think
Did it work?
I think there's no failing if you're experimenting, as I noted. Like I think as long as you're moving forward, we can feel that in the work. You know what I mean? I think if you're safe and it's like every work is perfect, that gets really boring quick. You know what I mean? So I think, does it work? It absolutely works because we're intrigued by the different approaches. It was really interesting to hear you speak to your experimentations in opacity in your paints, as well as the kind of sgraffito that you're working with, which also plays in depth of field and space. Does anybody want to say anything about this work? If not, we could move to, is there anybody else in space? Yeah.
I have the nicotinian.
Tell me, is that this one?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I studied art with George for a long time, years ago. I haven't put something in this show for 30 years.
Wow.
And so like life and having a kid and single mom and everything.
And being gorgeous. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
And so, you know, but my kid has always inspired me. He's the opposite, like, and
Yeah.
he's First Nations.
Yeah.
And we've worked really hard to be with the land, and though his dad wasn't with us, to really involve ourselves in the sweat lodge and in the culture.
Awesome.
And all those things. And so then my garden has been my solace, like my,
Yeah.
right? Like,
So healing. Gardening?
he does not like gardening, but we're
Yeah.
the opposite because he is going to be an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So he's all numbers and
Yeah.
everything has to be black or white, and
Yeah.
I'm just gray area like
Yeah.
all the time. And so I was saying to George that this painting is, there's like 10 paintings there,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
I hate it, and a lot like the process with the water,
Yeah.
the deer. It's like I hate it, and then just put on some rock and roll and just like screw it and just go. And actually
Yeah.
got something, right?
I think you bring up another important thing that I think through. And remember how I was saying it's important to always experiment? But then I think like sometimes I think about like the breakthrough. You know, it's like you go on a journey and there's a reason why they call it a discipline, because it takes commitment. And the day we don't want to go into our studio is the day that we should go, because that's the day that a breakthrough could occur.
If you don't, you put them
Yeah,
away. And then
but you could be like experimenting, kind of blindly driving in the dark. And then all of a sudden it hits, and then there's a couple of works that are resolved. You know what I mean? That like it all comes into place and you're in that sweet spot. So it's like,
and something in you.
yeah.
Right? It's like,
So
oh,
in that
I'm
journey,
you.
yes, your connection to self, and your relationship to making,
Yeah.
and your positionality in your own lived journey.
Yeah.
Really beautiful to speak to. Any other artists on this wall? Yes.
Birds flying here.
Beautiful.
And it's to remind myself to make the best out of things that are out of your control. And
Yeah,
I'd end up enjoying.
that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Like art is a spiritual pathway. Art is a spiritual pathway, and I love that. You know, like she was speaking to, just embrace what we have no control over. Yeah, and we can find the beauty in that. So yeah, that's amazing. Like I think if we all stopped in a moment to reflect back when we ourselves looked up, you know what I mean? We can feel that in the work. Yeah, really, really powerful. Really powerful. And I might just crisscross across the way to this beautiful big abstraction made by, is it Brody? Brody's last name? Burns. What we're looking at, this is very brief, but we're looking up at the sky inside the teepee. So every single one of those spirit orbs or circles speak to, well, the very central one would be that opening through the teepee up to the sky, but those are all TP teachings. Every one of the TP poles offers us a sacred teaching, so amazing. All right, anybody else on this wall? Anybody else? Yeah.
The hollyhocks, pink.
The pink hollyhocks, oh amazing. Yeah, it was so much fun actually, like making sort of like 170 entries. And you know, like I loved actually like how the yellow dances in space throughout the compositions and how the pink in your hollyhock also kind of like shift through the pinks and some of the purples in space. So does anybody want to speak to this composition? And what I find interesting is that we're looking at an interior, but we can't get inside because we're getting reflection right back out at us, which I think is so interesting. We're looking at a window, but we're denied entry, but we're still offered something incredibly generous. So yeah, I think that's the other thing too, is art is always autobiographical. We cannot escape telling everybody who we are when we make work.
If you could, talk about a little bit about landscape in general, especially about the big horizontal one, and then the one beside it on the left, the gentle shoreline.
Yeah,
Just some general comments on that.
so beautiful. Like I think about relationships. Yeah, I think about relationships when I think about the land. You know, it's like nothing is isolated. It's like deep time. And the question was really about these two compositions in conversation. And so like, what I love about water is like, even in its most polluted state, it can save itself. It will evaporate, it will rid itself of impurity, and then it will return back pure as rain or snow. It does its best, you know what I mean? I think water can completely purify itself. I think about the trees too, the relationships between, the pine tree and they look like poplar trees or birch trees, and the relationships of the cloudscapes. It's like we're moving from sunset into the early evening, dusk. But yeah, I love that play when we get that opportunity to work with many different artists' work on the same wall. It's actually a great honor. So, and what an amazing selection of artists we have from our region. Anyone else have anything to say about this wall or pose a question or space of inquiry?
I love how you put it up, that it's large in the middle, but it's almost a landscape in itself, how you positioned it as well. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you. And I think, you all inspired that with your work. But yeah, that was definitely the intention. So thank you. Okay, we can move into this wall next. Yeah, let's move into this wall next. There was so many amazing entries and there's so much landscape. I wasn't surprised when I got off the plane that we'd see so many landscapes. And so we were really talking about this portal, this other tondo, this circular, I believe it's encaustic. It's acrylic. Is Corla here? Is the artist here?
No, she's at home recovering.
Okay. What an amazing portal. That's the other thing I find really interesting about circular works, is that they're more than just this like circular, there's very spatial, you know? It's almost like you're confronted by, is it a void or is it a gateway to some other place? And I love the relationship to that work in this work, the circle and the square. But I think in relationship, yeah, it was, and I love circles too. Like if we could just, like if we wanted to go around space, just by describing the circle formally, we'd get so much meaning out of it. You know, we spoke a little bit to the cosmological and sky world, and that often, from an Indigenous place, that often informs our positionality in our relationships. You know, some believe, and I believe, that, you know, we are all stardust. So when I look at circles, I think about that. So I do think about the cosmological or our perspectives and how we understand our physical journey in this plane. So yeah, and then wild enough, we have a figure in front of a circle. So like, is that the moon? Is that the sun? But I really do think it's more about, when I look at this work, I think it's more about how small we are in relationship to everything else. But it does kind of ground us. It does ground us.
In fact, I was a little, after I submitted it, I thought, so kindly, why did I even do that? And I realized, and when I came and saw how beautiful, everything else so beautiful, but it was all white. I mean, purpose.
Yeah.
The little purposes. And
I love that word.
the ghosts behind, they're disappearing in harder.
Yeah.
Spring, it's so much harder to find them.
Oh, wow.
The ghost is kind of.
Who wants to talk about crocuses? Like,
Which artwork?
the crocus right here.
Oh, I can't
Yeah.
see this.
Does anybody want to speak to crocuses? Yeah, speak to crocuses.
I love that piece because of the connection with crocuses.
Yeah.
And like when you first see them in spring.
Yeah.
It's like that, like we always know spring's coming, but winter always feels so long. And it's like that little symbol of hope, right? That like, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love crocuses.
It's like our elevators here.
Yeah, yeah. When I think about crocuses, I just think about the prettiest little thing. It was so tough. They can break through the ice. And they're just so fragile, but they're so strong. And they're such a promise. You know what I mean? And I was just describing the crocus, like, beautiful. And I think sometimes when students are asking me, like, what size should I make my work? Like, is there any, like, for this assignment, what size should my work be? Is there any recommendation? And I'm like, nope. Scale is its own thing, you know what I mean? And if you would have made crocuses like that big, I mean, that might have been something too. We might have felt it in a very different way. But I think you really honor the spirit of the crocus at that scale. It's an incredible work. So yeah. I actually do love small works too. Like, has anybody heard of the Barnes collection? So the Barnes, they were these sisters. I think they lived in Philadelphia or something like that. And they were just these sisters that just happened to be at the right place at the right time, and they bought early. And they bought small little works. But in their the collection they amassed had like masterworks from artists that became really powerful and influential. You know, they'd go over to Europe for the summer or whatever. They'd buy a few little small things and they'd turn out to be like Picasso. You know what I mean? But like, I remember seeing all these small little intimate works like by artists that we never see, works that are small. And I felt really emotional because it was just like, these are intimate things that these women lived with. You know what I mean? So I think that small can also be really loaded and charged, very powerful. So yeah, anybody else, there's a great exploration of skyscape and landscape here. Great to see photography, great to see some amazing watercolors.
Could you talk a little bit about rigmarks?
Yeah. Wasn't that awesome? That was an emotional moment for me on the stage last night. Because like we got beautiful work too. And I want to say for the most part, I had no idea who people were. You know? So yeah, what a surface. Like I invite you all later to come and really look at that surface. Like it does feel like birch and it does feel like pine and it's encaustic. So there's a little bit of a gloss. But yeah, senior artist, as I heard, they continue to experiment and this is some of their recent experimentations in wax encaustic painting. So yeah, a really beautiful landscape. And encaustic is not easy to work with. So yeah, once again, it was, yeah, I just love seeing that artist come to stage.
At the end of the night, I sat with Rigmore for a few minutes and she was opening her folder, her award. She looked at the big piece with her name on it and she looked at this and she looked at her envelope and she looked at the little note on the front of it and she said, "This is the most meaningful to me because it says it is Canadian landscape." It was a precious moment.
Yeah. And that's another really amazing thing I think about the art world. Like when I'm speaking to my students, it's like, the reason why your attendance in class every week is so important is because you get to know each other. You know, like just by chance, we get to see each other's work, but it's really, art is about our communities. It's about our connection to each other. And I also felt her spirit when she came to stage, even before she had that moment to reflect on the prize being for a Canadian landscape. I felt her spirit and it was like, I feel the love from my community. I feel the love from this place. And I think that was really touching. So it was, yeah. We should keep on showing each other our work, yeah.
I'm just wondering if we could use this moment talking about place. And Rigmore emigrated to Canada from Finland in her early 20s. And so that's why for her the Canadian Landscape Award was so special. She's 91 and said, "Finally, I'm a Canadian landscape painter."
Yeah.
And she's, for anyone who knows her, she's been doing this, going out, painting outdoors for decades, right? But I think that as we're in this space, looking at landscape and sense of place and how that's important with people, or for people, that it's interesting to consider these pieces in that conversation. And I really thought of it as you were talking about the tondo, the circle format as well, which is a component of these, because these are actually strongly linked to sense of place as well. And they did receive the Best in Show Mayor's Prize. So perhaps this is a nice moment. Here? The artist is not here, unfortunately. She was last night, but.
So, as I understand, they're Iranian and they're really speaking to migration and displacement, as well as all the hardships that are happening over there. We can also reflect on what it means to be a woman in that part of the world. When I think about the cold read and how important that is, I think before we see that small title, before we make the effort to actually go over to the wall to look for the title, we need to be drawn into the work. Otherwise, we won't even get to the title. So that's why I believe that it's like, if your work isn't functioning and echoing its story, it doesn't matter what the title is. So that's why I really love a cold read, because what that does is that encourages the student to really think through their process, to really think through formats and engage the audience. And so when I think about these things, I do think about ice flows. I also think about haystacks. There's something very Saskatchewan about that. And then we get even deeper layers. We get other layers. So they're living here now. And we cannot help but be affected by place as well. So yeah, very full, very rich. Multiple readings could occur in this work, and definitely worthy. I mean, it was actually really hard to place who's first. I think if you submit, you're all first place. But yeah, very strong work. And another thing that I think I took into consideration when considering that is like, what are artists offering the bundle? You know what I mean? Like when we think about culture, when we think about knowledges and the transference of knowledge and that generosity within space, when I think about culture, it's like, take those risks. It's like installational formats, you know what I mean? It's easier to kind of like, well, I'm a painter. Actually, it's getting harder and harder and harder to ship paintings, but it's even harder to ship things like this. So just like taking that big move and not questioning yourself, like, where am I gonna store the work? All of that is risky. So these were things that I think about, yeah.
It's actually cardboard with paint over
Yeah,
top.
and
there's some newspapers. Yeah, exactly. Sort of underneath the paints and the plasters applied, scraped away, applied, scraped away, which forms the lines. And
Yeah.
I think that echoes a sense of memory, right? What was, maybe what's coming forth now. And I just want to share something I also love about this work is the subtle detail that they are just lifted off the ground. So it makes for a gorgeous shadow, which speaks to what is around us.
Highly considered work, like highly considered work. You know, like, and that's another thing I think through too. Like, I think about Bridget Radecki. They were another one of my professors at Concordia in my undergrad. And I wish I would have known about their work before I studied underneath them, but they were really responding to the big boys of abstraction, but they were thinking about like the practicalities of shipping, what it means to be a female in that space, and yeah, very, like Bridget's work is so incredibly beautiful and profound and conceptually full, but like every aspect of the work, including how the work can be transported and presented, is refined. You know what I mean? So that definitely all also echoes from a very considered practice.
I would love to hear what you say about this work, which it isn't mine at all, but I was really taken with that artist.
Is that artist here? We had a moment to speak last night. Why do we love blueberries? That's, yeah, you know, it's like, and the map, like I love that this artist brings us fresh water and blueberries. And I think about the bear too. I think about the bear coming out in spring and eating all those blueberries. But yeah, really thoughtful work by Bonnie Peters. All right. Family gatherings in the bush. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, berry picking. It rarely happens alone, right? Yeah. The Northern Lights, I haven't seen them yet. And I think about this corner a lot, and I think about the Labatt 50. Like, that's a bit of a joke. We used, that kind of references my Grandpa Jack, who helped raise me with my mom. So, and I think about also other experiences, like there were so many things to deal with 170 entries, and we also really did want to honor absolutely everybody who put forward work, because everybody's practice is important, and there's an audience for everything. But yeah, this kind of felt like my uncle's corner. You know what I mean? A collection of those things that would be so great and collected by the men in my family. I love this work. Talk about depth of field in there. Like, that is an incredible depth of field. Yeah, without even reading the title, where we're looking at a reflection. We're looking at the sun. just hovering between the clouds, and it feels like you could touch it. And then you recognize that you're looking at a reflection in water. And so like, how deep is that water? Like, yeah, just, that is and once again, I think the scale of that work is perfect. Because if it was too big, we would lose the intimacy and the psychological.
Thanks. On a lighter note, I want to circle back to the projects.
Yes.
You being from Toronto will appreciate this. There's two sides of the string.
Yeah.
Each one, the tiny crocus beats through the snow crust, and the other thing is the leaves are out.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah! All the Toronto Maple Leaf fans, let's hear it for the mayor! Yes, we love it. We love it. I love it. And that's coming from the uncle's corner, which I love. I love it. Like, I think about my journeys to Aotearoa, or New Zealand, where I was with the Maori people, and they hosted me. And there was a lake that was dying, and I think they were just, maybe through ceremony the knowledges came forward, but they started to replant the indigenous grasses. And you know what? The lake came back alive, and the animals came back. You know, the fish came back. So there's things we can do, and we have a responsibility to that. I love that. See? So that work is starting. So yeah, we talked about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you know what? 90% of all plants, all fauna in Toronto, 90% of it is foreign. 90% of it is foreign. And my sister, Loretta, she lives in Hudson in Quebec. She works with restoring natural plants, indigenous plants. So when we think about our grasses, when we think about our gardens, I might encourage you all to really think about planting indigenous species. So Toronto's doing some great things too on the waterways. Like they have indigenous architects and city planners now, and it's like the buildings and the parkways are important, but also the plants are just as important. So yeah, we should be, I welcome us all to think about that and to do this work. It was really great to have everybody this morning. And it's actually really great that the mayor would come to something like this. I curated in Sarnia, Ontario for a while, and I met the mayor when I first arrived, and he showed me an aerial perspective of the county. And when we were looking at the county, the only places that there was trees in the county was on the First Nations. So, yeah, very telling. Like, that was the first thing he pointed out to me when I came to visit. And really, I was visiting him so that he would visit us more at the gallery, because let's face it, if you're gonna hear it, you're gonna hear it first in the galleries. What you want to take a temperature of community, you go visit the art. And so I was really encouraging him to come, but he never, I think it was 4 years that I was with them, he never came once. So we're really thankful that the mayor would come and participate in conversations. So we're gonna get started. Shall we get started? Okay, so yeah, in this corner, we were still thinking about the land and ice flows. I really think the positionality of these partitions were informed by ice flows. But we were kind of moving from the land, and this train, is Mark here? Is Mark in the house? it's funny when I think about Western expansion as a Métis person, the train is actually a very Saskatchewan thing. And the barbed wire too is also like very poignant. So yeah, I think more, well, when I think about Saskatchewan, especially as a Métis person, that the train is always incredibly loaded for me. Yeah, so we were kind of transitioning from the land into the city, or the more kind of, the more interior kind of relationship to land. You know, there's, even these gourds, I think about the market, even though it's like an extreme close-up, I feel like I'm in the market and it feels a little bit urban. But there's this cabin makes me think of Waskasiu. Is Lorna here? There's an unexpected visitor in her photograph. I'm not quite sure what that object is. It's a mushroom. But yeah, this wall really was about the kind of the relationship we have to place. So place really did situate the artwork on this wall. Is George here? George Glenn. Is George having coffee? That's okay, George is having coffee. Yeah, so yeah, they won a prize. Hey, George. Yeah, we were talking about your art. And this is called Studio Night. And yeah, actually I was speaking with another artist and we were talking about dynamics in composition. And you know, like there's so many brave moves that I think about in this work. George, how's your coffee? Good. Okay, good. Like, you know, one of the things that I was taught was to never use black. Who are the painters in this crew? And who has ever been confronted by, yeah. See, many people have been confronted by that rule. Never use black. And here's a composition that's primarily black. But I think like what animates this incredible studio night which its title is like those hits of color. Those hits of color are really powerful. Do you want to say anything about the work?
Well, it's a piece that I was working on for quite a while. It wasn't resolved at all. Yeah. And one day, Jesse and Connie were at the studio. Yeah. And I said, what bothered me? And I took a piece of chalk and cut spaces into that. And then it just clicked.
That's so cool. So yeah, you were confronted after a great amount of time. That happens to me too. It's like I could spend months and months and months and months and months and months, and then just out of an act of, sometimes it's frustration, all of a sudden there's pictorial space. And then the work placed for you. That's awesome. Yeah, I really love the work. Really love the work. Any other comments?
Yeah, the context always changes when you're surrounded by other work. So when I was standing back there, I was looking at the little bit of orange up there. I related immediately down to the left. Then I started seeing that the oranges pop out here and there. So there's a relationship that happens.
Yeah. That was another great teaching that I received, is color separates to make space. So we can literally use color to create a depth of field. And yeah, it really rocks in there. Does anybody want to speak to anything on this wall?
Can I just ask George?
George, you have a question? Hey, George. Here's a question for you. Here's a question, George.
Thank you. So you said you took chalk?
Chalk.
And you applied that on top of the canvas?
You know, it's a board. It's panel board.
Panel board. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So then,
and how did you preserve
then
that?
I put tea. When I liked the chalk, I wanted it to look like chalk, but I wanted it permanent. Okay. So I teed it all off very carefully.
Oh, wow.
I painted it to look like chalk.
Oh, wow. So we went back over with an acrylic paint to replicate that feel.
That's right. So you can go like that.
Yeah.
See?
What happens if I lick it? No, I love it. I remember one time I was on a curatorial tour of an install, and I touched somebody's work, and they were like, "Don't touch my work."
Oh, really? Wow.
No, it's cool. It's true.
Yeah.
That was so great. That was so great. So thank you, George.
Thank you.
We won't all do that.
Yeah, that was great. But I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, we just learned that they replicated the accident. Like, it became part of the aesthetic. And it's very physical. So that was awesome. Okay, anybody else on this wall? Everybody should at some point get in here and look at this a little closer. It's a really interesting dance of the figure, and it feels really introspective and in action. Yeah, the gaze, as we look, the gaze is challenged because their identity is super saturated with light, which I think is a very interesting juxtaposition against, like, it doesn't just feel anonymous. It's very intentional. It's very self-proclaimed and self-empowered. And so, yeah, I think it's like, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I know exactly what I'm going to reveal to you. So, yeah, and it's a photographic montage. And yeah, it's exceptional work from a high school student. So, yeah, thank you for that insight. All right. Yes, did you?
I just wanted to make a comment on the photograph picture there, the train.
Yes, the train.
I was sitting over there, I got a perspective that I didn't get last night.
Okay.
You've got this, all the landscapes.
Yep.
Very mostly calm and peaceful, and the iron horse, industrialized.
Yeah. Driving through town. Yeah, that was part of the intention too. Yeah.
What causes all that now?
Yep. A little bit of challenge. A little bit of challenge in the land. It is, what you called it, the iron horse, yeah. So it brought great things. It also brought devastation. Yeah, so. All right, I think we're going to turn our attention to this side of the wall. And we spoke very briefly, this little subsection of the install. We spoke to Brody's contributions, and yeah, it's the only work, the largest work here that we're looking at. It's the only abstract work on this wall. This wall was really dedicated to animals, and for the most part, animals of Saskatchewan. But Brody's work, like when I think about abstraction and when I think about the Woodland School, when I think about Alex Janvier, I think about spirit orbs or ancestral energy, and that's what I read in these circular passages in the composition. I feel like they really do bring in something very unique in their approaches to what one could probably place in the Woodland School space. I get a sense of animals. I feel like this could be owl, and this could be sparrow, and maybe that's a dove. And I felt bear energy in here last night, and I felt fish. But I did feel like it was also the land, because it is so big and we can't separate the animals from the land. I just felt like it was really kind of the thing to build the whole constellation around. So yeah, this wall was really wonderful to put together. I think I immediately knew what was gonna happen on this wall. So does anybody have artwork on this wall that would like, yeah? The buffalo? I love the buffalo. I love the buffalo a lot. I love the buffalo a lot. Thunder on the Prairies, Connie. So yeah, I think about Shushkitew, and Connie's really working very conscientiously to tell a really powerful story. You can feel, I feel the personality of that one in the front leading the herd. They're all really beautiful. And you can sense their relationships. It's a very intimate work. It really requires you to jump right in there and take a good close look. Yeah. Does anybody else have work on? Yes. And this wall?
Number 44, the fish.
Okay, great. Yeah, the fish. Amazing. This one? Or,
yeah.
okay, cool. Darian. Amazing. Wallet Jack. Yeah, that's pretty cool too. It's wild how, yeah. I personally, in my journeys, I think about some of the spirit icons from the Maori people. They have water deities, and so I think about the greenstone or the jade, and so that's really what I'm picking up here, and that eye also kind of speaks to like spirit orb. There's so much happening in the eye of that Wallajak. But yeah, there's a hook and a worm. And I'm wondering if that's algae, and there is some syllabics. We talked about portals a little bit, and I think about some of my friends that have gifted me some knowledge, and I won't mention their names, but I do see water too as also a portal, like you were talking about different realms in space. So very provocative. Thank you. Does anybody else have work over here? Yeah. And the work is so incredibly beautiful. And I do see that space, and it is such an act of generosity for you to share those knowledges with us and that perspective. Really beautiful. So much care. Yeah, and yeah, were you here for the artist talk last week? I gave a little bit of a talk about, we mentioned Norval, and we were speaking to the spirit orbs, like the ancestral energies. And I love how you're connecting these things to the flowers. I see the flowers are out.
Imagine these were three pieces, these three flowers I've never painted before.
Yeah.
That's their thoughts and prayers going on to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what it's like on the other side, but that's what I imagine.
Yeah.
Just the way it opened.
They're leaving us flowers. And then I also think about how important it is that we give all those we care about their flowers. That everyone in their lifetime received their flowers. So that is really beautiful. That is really beautiful. Yeah, really great work. Such an honor. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Is there any other work on this wall? Yeah. Is this one? My cousin wanted to buy that work. Yeah. That is a great heron. So this is Helen? Yeah. That is high realism. That is a really beautiful acrylic painting. It looks like a photograph. From an Indigenous perspective, I think about my friend Sarah, who moved on to the other side, and she was from the Heron clan. So yeah, it's amazing how all this knowledge and all of our experiences definitely do start to inform and affect us. So really beautiful work, Helen. Really, really beautiful work. Okay, cool. One of my favorite buffalo teachings, and that gives me so much courage. And the buffalo, they're like, fuck it, we're heading right in. We're gonna get through it as fast as we can. And yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from the buffalo. Yeah. We were talking about the archives. And we were talking, I mentioned a little bit about how I don't like that idea of things being lost. Like, I feel like we could paint them back. All of it, you know what I mean? Yeah, our visions can call things back, I believe. And that's really beautiful. Look at that big cloud too. I think about Saskatchewan. I always love driving back from Saskatoon to Prince Albert because the big skies and any time of the year. Beautiful painting. Anything else in this?
I just like to ask, it's not my work.
Yeah.
The bottom piece on the right.
This work.
Yeah.
Isn't that great work? I met the artist yesterday. Is Jean in the house? Jean showed me some of the other work that they're working on, and I love how this hawk feels like it is physically in relation to the land, like in kin to the land. And she showed me this other image of an owl, and the way and the owl kind of sits between two trees, and the same kind of demarcations in the feathers of the owl were also repeated, or you felt it in the trees. So it felt like the animals are the earth and the earth are the animals. So yeah, a really sensitive, thoughtful artist. Really beautiful work. Shall we move into this section of the installation? I think we're gonna start back in the corner, and we're gonna switch it up, and we're gonna talk about ceramics for a hot second. So I was kind of torn too. I was kind of torn about, should we move the ceramics out into that space with the fiber arts, because we were really thinking about the body and how physical fiber art production is as well. Ceramic is also extremely physical, and it's material driven. And yeah, it was just a great melange of ceramic pieces with various approaches, some who speak directly to the practice itself, the material itself in very conceptual ways. There's some kind of real, some beautiful expected approaches to, I believe that is the artist here who made this beautiful big white vase. I think about raku, so Japanese approaches to firing and glazing. Is Jeff here? Jeff Stewart. This is a great piece too. I love the weight of that jug. And it makes me think about, it's a good sturdy jug, and I think about times when we would have used these all the time. And it's just a really beautiful vase. This, or jug. Is Ruth here? Is there any ceramic artists here? Yeah. Lots of great ceramic artists in the region. And it was really great to work with these pieces. And yes, this is the thing that kind of germinated our approaches to everything in space. So yeah, it was kind of like this ice flow that kind of informed the constellations that we see on the wall that were kind of informed by the land or the river, and ice flows on the water. So let's turn our attention to this wall right behind us. This is like, figurative approaches. We kind of gave it a little bit of an energy. It's so awesome how much attention this painting requires. Is this Jonathan's work?
Yeah, John.
Is John here? Were they here last night? Oh yeah, I wish I would have met that one. Bit of a rock star. And we were like, let's put the tiger beside the rock star, yeah. So yeah, this is really kind of figurative approaches, a really great diverse range of approaches to figurative art. some watercolor, very sensitive, and you feel like some deep connections to some of the people in the work. This is they're all great. Is Diana here? Yeah. Janaea. Is Janaea here? Yeah. Could we talk about your work? Yeah, we'd love to talk about your work. I think there's so many things to think through. Like, I love this work. I was saying that when we were looking at it, I feel there's so many conversations to talk about with the Kukum scarf. And my father was also born in the Ukraine. So I think about the Kukum scarf for many reasons, from both lines of my family, as the Métis as well as the Ukrainian. On my father's side, he was Mennonite. Yeah, and then I think about the approach to landscape. There's something very Georgia O'Keeffe in the way in which you're modeling various segments of the landscape, but it's undeniably Saskatchewan. It is undeniably Saskatchewan. Do you want to talk about the work at all, or?
Sure, yeah, similar. Like I have Ukrainian and Métis French heritage, so I grew up dancing Ukrainian dancing, and we would wear the scarves. I just became fixated on. I've always loved them and collected them and had them passed down to me, and I've just been fixated on the history of them and how they were introduced into Indigenous communities as kind of between the women, and how I've seen, at least I think I've noticed and kind of heard of a resurgence of them as the war is going on in Ukraine. Yeah. As the women are showing solidarity to each other.
Beautiful.
As land is being stolen and such just violence and but most of all, I just have always loved them since I was a kid before I knew anything about them, and I've just become fixated on the differences in them, because to the untrained eye, you wouldn't really, unless you really know that, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a Kukum scarf and a Ukrainian shawl, but there are differences. The Kukum scarf has become its own print. It's so similar, but it's so clearly, you can I have so many references. I can almost see the evolution of it, but I just think they're so beautiful, and I've just been fixated on them a bit. Yeah.
Amazing, and I think that's an important conversation to have. And I think that there should almost be a symposium to talk about that between our Indigenous community and the Ukrainian community. So thank you for that beautiful work. Is there anybody else who has work on this wall? Yes, that's right. Yeah. We spoke briefly last night.
Yeah, it's of my mother.
Yeah.
She passed away over a year ago, January 23rd last year. And I thought of her journey to heaven. Mm-hmm. And of course, the first two spirits she sees are a little dog and a little cat. Uh-huh. She always loved animals. Yeah. And she loved them more than people. I think she loved me in there too.
Somewhere in there.
I just hear her singing down. Well, of course I loved her.
Yes.
But her ancestors are not up there, and then the little cat up there too.
Yeah.
Of course. And although she wasn't that big, she was she'd always tell me I'm 5'1.5". Just say 5'2". But she would say that, but she there's no way I was going to entrap her in a frame. Yeah. That's why I needed the frame. Put her angel wings out on it, part of her body, and a bit of heaven on there too. Because heaven, you can't box up heaven.
No, I love that. I love that. And then we talked a little bit about Howard Hodgkins, another great abstractionist who I love, that expands the experience beyond the frame and paints over frames too. Yeah. So I thought that was a beautiful reference point, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else on this wall? Yeah. Tell me about your work.
It's that weird thing.
Oh yeah. We talking about this one? I see, that one's, I'm trying to find the title for that. Is it over here? Okay, Nancy Wood. Awesome.
So I just, you know what, there's like 3 other paintings under there.
Yeah.
So I'm just learning to paint, and so usually when I'm painting one thing, and then there's always a little leftover paint, right? And I don't want to waste it, so I usually have another canvas or 2, and then I just use that paint up. So at one point there was just a bunch of circles because I was just practicing colors, you know, things like that. And then one day I just picked it up, and well, this whole homeless thing is really bothers me.
Okay, good.
And like really bothers me. I can cry when I think about how horrible it is.
Yeah.
So there's a photographer in Vancouver that I came across his works, and he has a lot of black and white photographs of homeless people. And so I was looking at them because then I'm trying to learn, you know, shadows, right? So that's really helpful when you're looking at a black and white. And so he had all these faces. And then, so then I just painted, I'll paint a face over that canvas that's doing nothing, that's sitting on the floor. And I couldn't come up with title, well, I don't even know if it's finished, but I couldn't come up with any title because it's basically WTF. Like, what is going on?
Amazing. Thank you, Nancy. All right, anybody else on this wall? Okay, why don't we move over here? We thought it was a smart idea to create a bit of a calm, quieter moment behind the ceramic, also for its safety. So I was thinking about the energy surrounding these fragile pieces. So we thought we wanted something quiet and grounded. And so that's why we kind of presented these works here. Yeah. Is there any of the artists present that are presenting in this corner? Jesse's here. Thank you. Yeah, I love Jesse's work. And it was so interesting. I saw their studio. They're working away. They're making some beautiful things. They've got a really interesting relationship to other artists and their approaches. And I was really taken by the stillness. And I immediately spoke to it, like, it made me think of Morandi, yes, the Italian painter who paints these beautiful, beautiful still lifes of bottles. Jesse, do you want to talk about this work a little bit?
I'll talk a little bit about it. So for me, the act of being creative through drawing, especially in painting, is just a daily practice, something that is done every day just as a way to interpret the world and constantly be in touch with it. So I do a little tiny bit each day, and it always ends up being an interior view of my little tiny studio space slash spare room slash closet slash office. So I suppose it's a bit of a meditation on the creative practice and possibilities, but within that there's the formal elements of space and color and texture explored in there. This was a canvas that was gifted to me, and it belonged to, I feel like she was one of my best friends, Andre Martinson. I was so fortunate to connect with her and share a same circle. And so actually her initials are in the very top, the edge of the canvas. And we, kind of in the lower right, there's a somewhat abstracted image actually of a book of watercolors by Morandi, which I was so honored to receive from her estate after she passed away. So it's a little bit of a remembrance of her, and just a meditation on that daily creative practice and the possibilities.
I love it. And you know what was going to be my first question actually? Was like, who should be sitting in that chair? And I think you captured it. I think you captured that. And I think Jesse too, like, I think about those people that serve community as curator, like those that also have an art practice. I encourage you to keep on painting. Like, she makes beautiful paintings. And I'd love to see an exhibition of her work too. So I'd like to hold safe space for that. Yeah. No pressure, she says, no stress. Like a life in art doesn't have to be about pressure. But one of the things that that was gifted to me by the man who taught me how to paint was like make a new body of work every year. Even if it's just a few things, make a new body of work and present it every year. And you know what? You'll always be an artist if you do that. So, yeah, I really do appreciate your paintings. All right, Studio Q. We have a self-portrait series. There's artists in space. Yeah, and they're both behind cameras, but I think I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. This was a really cool process to get to make. We collaborated with all the artists that are in the self-portrait, and it really pushed our practice further because their visions of what they wanted to create and how they wanted to. It was all about taking control and self-determination over how the public and others in your community are able to see you. And everybody who is part of our collective identify as queer. And we get put under these umbrella labels, but we wanted to show the diversity. And so, Petunia there was like, I want to be upside down. And we had to do her shoot right after our little consultation. So Petunia's was about shifting perspectives, and then Dakota wanted to be the god of the Northern Lights and to be one of the Northern Lights. Kayleen's portrait speaks to a recovery journey and that idea of just for today, but drawing on the lessons of the past and the hope for the future to help ground you in today. Xander wanted to accentuate the things that he was really proud about and show a really strong portrait. Ali's was about being the star people and being connected to the universe. Colby was wanting to explore their gender identity, and I think one of the most powerful things that came out of it was they told us that this was the first time they felt that sense of euphoria in their body and who they are. Orion wanted to depict a really strong, powerful pose. Jules there was showing the scars to our nervous system. When we talk about trauma, we often don't actually talk about the impacts on our bodies. And then Sarah at the end was capturing that essence of the storm and that renewal. So
amazing.
It was amazing to get to sit with them and get to know them all. We work with them all in our day-to-day work, but to get to really dig into that creative process with them and get to know them. And my favorite thing was them bossing us around in the studio. And I was like, that's when you know that they felt ownership over the process. So and I was so proud of them for being willing to put themselves on the wall in such a vulnerable way. And I thought it really spoke to the power of community when none of them wanted to be on the wall alone. Nobody wanted to submit as an individual. They all they were like, if I'm up there with my friends, then I'm ready to be seen by the community. So it was their first time ever at a gala yesterday. So it was a really beautiful experience.
And when I think about the photographic prize that was honored for it, they deserve it. I mean, all of the photographs are really powerful, but when I think about what it means to be a photographer in 2026, when everybody has a cell phone, it's like being a photographer today is so challenging. So challenging. But yeah, I think about the risk involved, the courage it took, the stories they told, very full. Very, very, very full. So beautiful collection of photographic works. All right, we're gonna turn our attention over. Yeah. This work?
Yeah.
Yes.
When I was looking at it last night, I thought the eyes were closed. But if you look down, you just get this shock.
Yeah. Maybe we should have.
And that's exactly, maybe we should have, I was thinking.
Propped it up higher. Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
But it was amazing how I had that visceral response when I saw the
Is Adrian here?
No, Adrian's not.
I'm guessing Adrian's been making work for decades. Yeah. Just really, really, I get a sense that this one's extremely dedicated and just like has been making work constantly for decades. The reason why, what's that?
It feels like anxiety, being boxed up in anxiety to me.
Yeah. And we gave it a little bit of space off the ground, but the legs tell us where we should be looking. You know what I mean? They've created the platform and the height and the space in which we should be like experiencing the work. But yeah, you're right. I don't know, it's so funny. We talked a little bit about philosophy. Lisa's a great philosopher. And this feels like contemplative. Maybe it is caged in, but maybe it's protected. You know what I mean? Maybe it's taking that quiet space. It could be perceived, I think, many different ways. Beautiful work. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
Oh, I was just going to say I absolutely love Adrian's work. That's part of an ongoing series, and he has shown last year and I believe the year before parts of this series where it's a self-portrait head, and it reflects his formal training in Eastern Europe.
Oh, wow.
So he's using, I believe he made a cast right, of the head, and so he's reusing the head.
Yeah.
And he has this whole collection of furniture that he's repurposing the furniture. And so, yeah, it's just...
It's like reframing it. It's funny because it could reference the arms or the legs, the spine. Yeah, very thoughtful work. Then we have this work. Atreyi, is that how we pronounce their name? And they're not here today. And I believe that they're finishing an MFA currently. I think they're in second year at the University of Saskatchewan. And so, yeah, it was really delightful to have a few words with them last night. And when we think about tea, it's such an intimate ceremony, that exchange too. It's so wild, but like sharing tea is like in the four directions, it's global. So this is from an Indian perspective, from India. They share spice. So there's some references of food and culture. We talked a little bit about the table. They felt like that quite wasn't resolved yet. We talked a little bit about the boundaries of the canvas and how they're breaking away from boundaries. They're breaking boundaries as we're seeing the canvas hitting the ground, but it's still grounded. So there's a lot of beautiful ways that we could read this work. And I expect that they'll be continuing to explore these things. They spoke a little bit to like clay and spice. So another thing that I enjoyed was they spoke to that meaningful way in which she can share her culture here. And then we talked about the relationship to our custodians, our First People, and what it means to share our culture within that context. And so she's also thinking about a meaningful way in which she can honor being a settler on these lands while sharing her own culture. So I think that's also very important in 2026 and beyond, is that we acknowledge our positionality on someone else's land if we're settlers. So that wall, amazing. Then we move over to this wall. We have this wall. I think, is this going to be our final wall? This little triangulation, yeah. Is this artist here? This little act of rebellion. Should we talk about this powerful piece? Yeah. What are people picking up from this? One of the youth were here and they were like, I really see like how damaging, this is their read, I don't know if it's right, how damaging social media can be. So beyond the surface, what a weapon it can be. Yeah. So.
And also fighting back against it.
That's good.
Is, right? So it's all about how it's such social media.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
spend 2 hours on Facebook or YouTube. And,
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you say, and you stop and you say, well, what did I just do?
For 2 hours, yeah.
I wasted my time, right? I wasted my time, got stolen from me.
Yes.
And, you know, there's, you know, put ideas into my head that I didn't want there, all
Uh-huh.
that stuff.
Yeah.
And then how do you fight back against that, right?
Yeah.
Well,
It's a true story.
yeah, you got to do something, right? You have to,
Yeah.
you know, get rid of it. So it's all about expelling those ideas or
Yeah.
rejecting that at all as much as possible. I mean, I'm pretty bad too with social media, but you know, you got to keep it in mind, right? And
Oh, of course, yeah.
do something about it, and yeah, that's it. And the name is 404 Not Found, which is
Yeah.
like, you know, an
Yeah.
internet broken link. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like you should try to break the links with those platforms.
Love it. So I had breakfast at 8 o'clock this morning with my godmother, my aunt, and some of my family, and she brought up that they made a social media platform for artificial intelligence. Have you heard anything about that? Yeah, and they're like horrified how AI is responding to itself. And some of the comments it's leaving, even about human beings, like, so it's very telling. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how much we can take. Like, I do think we're actually at a turning point in our relationship with technology. Yeah, is Janelle here? Isn't that interesting? So what are people reading from this work? A play of light.
Light spectrum is reflected through the water droplets and just split in million different colors. Sunset, sunrise, noon hour, it all put together.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is a great painter. Janelle. Who knows Janelle? Does anybody?
I like this painting because
Yeah.
as soon as I see this work, it's pure Janelle. I don't even
Oh,
know
wow.
Janelle very well.
Okay,
But
okay.
like, this is her hair, this is her personality, this is her...
Isn't that awesome?
She walks into the room and you know she's there.
Yeah.
So I feel that it's almost...
Articulated in an abstraction.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like I feel like this one's really a painter. Like really loves to make paintings. You could see the hums of color almost in every brushstroke. Like they're really interested in creating that harmonic by a couple of different hues on the same brush. You know, they love painting. And this work is called Blowing Kisses in the Wind. So yeah, that's a pretty wonderful spirit. All right, over here. Any artists in the room? Yeah. I was pretty excited about all of the works on this wall, except for that one. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I believe that, does this one do large murals throughout the city? Yeah.
We did one in Studio Q.
Yeah. So it's so cool. When I start to think about the context of practice, to start to experience an artist's work outside of the gallery in community, and then see their work resolved as a composition on stretch canvas within the gallery. So it's really great. It was nice to meet Jennifer last night. Yeah. And this one, I believe, is photographic. So here we see a digital abstraction titled Awakening, and I'm guessing it's a land skyscape. Yeah.
That I know he often will photograph crystals and frost under a microscope.
Well, there you go. Okay, cool. Really amazing. It also feels like a print when you look at it. Like it feels like a vinyl cut.
Actually, he spoke about this to me yesterday. He said that it was a vitamin C molecule. On
Vitamin
our
C
plate.
molecule.
Yeah.
That's super, super cool. Yep. Geometrics. Geometrics is really kind of like echoing through most of the work. So that was how decisions were made about the placements of these works. Okay, we did it.
We did it.
We did it. Yeah. Yes.
Spent so much time with every piece, and this was absolutely true in the curatorial process as well. Jason was attentive and sensitive to each and every artwork individually, but also how they were placed. So I really want to thank you for spending such meaningful time here in the gallery, but also throughout the community. We're so happy to have you as the guest curator for our 50th. So thank you so much again.
Thank you. It was a real honor to be here, so thank you.